Hey everybody, welcome to CyberBulls. Sorry for the delay. Big day, of course. We saw the stock just in free fall, and we were waiting for a massive. Alexandra was hosting a massive Twitter space, and there's just so much to talk about. But I couldn't hold Christian down any longer. He was getting very, very excited. It's affecting all of us. But go ahead, Christian, go for it.
No, I just want to say, Herbert, thanks for hosting this. And yeah, the space was awesome. But we're at a moment now, a Tesla stock, and I'm just going to be frank, and this is just my opinion, and I respect everyone out there. The stock is, being unmoored. It's a waterfall, 8% down today when the market is essentially up. We are down 60+% when our earnings estimates are going up, right? I think analysts are starting to take them down a little bit, but they're still up way before. We're trading at a multiple probably now in the 20s for a tech company that's growing earnings Q3 anyway, 100% year over year. And we have Elon fighting with shareholders, supporters of the company. We have Elon talking about macroeconomics and why Tesla stock's going down and not understanding, we're not sensitive to the fact that maybe it could be selling $40 billion worth of stock. Maybe it could be Twitter and every day taking a political stance, right or wrong. The controversy of that is not good for shareholders, and it's not good for sentiment for your customers, in my opinion. So I have no problem with Elon owning Twitter. I think he's doing a noble thing with the free speech, but I've tweeted this out a few times. I believe now he is the referee, and now he is not a participant in the action. So what I mean by that is people like Jeff and Herbert and me, we could talk about politics. Let everyone else talk about politics within reason and within the law, no problem. But it's time for Elon to allow that to occur. And as a CEO of a public company, he should not now be the face with the politics. I think he needs to step aside from that part of it and focus on the technology and focus on Tesla and start tweeting again about Tesla and the business. Because at this moment, there's a lot of people and a lot of shareholders taking a lot of pain. And there's a lot of people that believe in the company and support the company. And I'm not looking for rocket the stock. There needs to be some stabilization. We're down 60+%. What that means is you get any lower, you go 65, 70, you're going to need to go up a triple, which a triple is 200%. That may take a year or two or three. So there's a lot of people that bought up at the highs. Now, I'm not saying that's right or wrong. Everyone's responsible for their own finances. But it's getting to a point where if the stock goes any lower, and you're comparing it to companies like Rivian down 70%, 80%, and Lucid, unprofitable companies that could barely make the cars. When we're growing units 50% year over year for the last few years, and even if it's 45% this year and 40% next year, I don't know, maybe it's not. We don't deserve to be down here. We are executing and we are delivering. So I'll end it on that. I'd love to hear what Jeff has to say, but I believe the board needs to step in and do something. I don't know if it's a buyback. I don't know if it's a statement, something.
Christian, your attitude has changed dramatically since 15 minutes ago when we were talking one-on-one. You were animated. You were scared. Not scared, but the stock is in free fall. It's in free fall right now. Is it not?
No, I'm not
is it
scared.
not?
That's the wrong word.
Get the not scared, but you gotta get your energy was fell so
for
much.
The company.
You're so
I
calm
feel
now.
For well, because I don't want to be emotional about it. I want to talk normal.
You gotta get emotion.
So
come on, man.
I'll give you a little bit of emotion. The company is in disarray. Okay, I'm just gonna say it. It is. Elon is in disarray. He is the greatest entrepreneur and innovator of our time, but he has lost focus. Taking a poll, getting the results, not liking the results, then saying there's bots when he knows there's bots before he owned it. He knows there's bots after he owned it. So someone says, hey, Elon, the poll you did about leaving Twitter, I think there's a lot of bots. And saying, you might be right. Whoa. What? Like, you didn't know there was bots participate in the poll before? Like, this is insanity. I'm just going to say it. It's
There
insanity
you go.
what's going on right now. Okay, point blank, and it needs to change, and it needs to change fast because the stock is getting discombobulated from reality, and long-term investors that support the company don't want to give their shares to people who don't believe in the company at 80% lower levels because we have someone doing this, causing this reaction. Go ahead, Jeff, Herbert. Go ahead. All right. Say
Jeff,
something.
go
Oh,
for it,
hey.
buddy. Yeah.
Hey, thanks for going through that, Christian. I think, I think you brought up a lot of really relevant points for people, and you always do. And Herbert, thanks for scheduling this. And there could be a lot of emotion wrapped up in this. It depends how you approach it. Um, I think let's be fact based. Anybody who has bought the stock and holds it for the last 25 months is down. So anybody who's bought a share in the last 25 or so months is down if they're holding the stock, and that's hurting. That'll hurt a lot of people. Everybody's responsible for their own, you know, their own stock accounts and how to manage it. But I'd love to think about, like, we're kind of, there is this waterfall effect, but kind of what stops it? Are there things out there that can kind of like slow it? And what are those things? And the couple of things that to me that come to mind are around having an understanding of what's going on with demand. There's so much noise out there in the system regarding demand. Even on the space that was earlier, it's like, here's how you calculate it. And he went through this backlog conversation, and he's putting new orders in. This bear that was on the call, he's putting new order number. He doesn't know the new order number. Nobody knows the new order number unless you work inside of Tesla. And one of the things I've been trying to share with people, and again, demand could be lower, demand could be the same, demand could be actually going through the roof for all we know, because we're missing that number. We don't know the new order number. If you just look at publicly published backlog numbers, it doesn't account for a very simple thing. The fact that Tesla's guided for 50% unit growth. So that's 1.35 to 1.45 million shipments this year, somewhere in that area. And they've installed 2 million units of capacity, and it's running. Those 2 million units of capacity are running, I think, this week and next week. So invariably backlog's going to come down. So there's noise in the system on demand. I think that needs to be kind of understood. Obviously, the lower cost vehicle segment, I think that would be helpful. It's not going to happen overnight, but I think between that and the IRA and what's going to happen with the economics of the IRA, I think if Tesla could help us understand the economics of the IRA of, like, we have this much capacity going into the following year on battery cell production in the US. This is how we believe it's going to affect us after talking with the government. Maybe actually have a kind of a broadcast with the government saying, hey, we've been working together on this in the background. And since we're the biggest EV manufacturer in the US and quite frankly, the world, we'd like to kind of roll this out together with the government. I think that would be a very helpful thing right now. And I've said this before, the Cybertruck's a recession buster. If that could be at least the design of the site, like, this is what it is. This is what we're going to start we're putting it in production. And this is what we believe we're going to be delivering in the following year. The next step in guidance on the Cybertruck, besides production in 2023, I think would be helpful to stem the losses. And then obviously all the other things around going on Twitter, finding this, Elon's already said, and the board has already said, like, there is a plan to go find a CEO. This was discussed months ago, actually. It's in court proceedings. So I know there's commentary going back and forth, but that is their plan. So just the sooner that could happen, the better.
Okay.
And then I'll hold it there.
Yeah. Okay. So I got to pause you, Jeff, because you just went through a whole bunch of stuff that could help the stock go up, and it's all about fundamentals. When in reality, it's got, at this point, I think the China demand is a potential issue, but it's probably a small amount of issue. The big ones are all Elon. It's a crisis that the company is going through. When you see the stock fall from $1,000, well, whatever it was, 300, whatever,
420,
to
414,
yeah, all the way now, we've lost over $500 billion of market cap, and most of it in the last 2 months. Shouldn't the board consider that a crisis? And so, this is a kind of a tweet from Christian earlier this morning. He goes, there's a very easy solution to support the stock. Elon stopped selling. Elon stopped tweeting politics and controversies. Focus on Twitter products, focus on Tesla, tweet about Tesla. So according to you, Christian, you're basically saying Elon can do that. He can stop this bleeding today. Now, if Elon starts to talk about the fundamentals like you're talking about, Jeff, like, yeah, the China demand is not weakening and so forth, I think that will go a long way. I'll let Christian answer this, but just one point that I heard from Gary Black at the space that Alexander was just on, but that made sense. He said that Elon could not have sold his stock last week if there was a change in the forecast of Q4. If there was any softening in demand for Q4, his securities board, compliance board would have stopped him from selling the stock because he would have material inside information. So that is something for us to bank on, maybe not bank on, but hold our hat on, thinking this is something that's possibly still ongoing. So it's not about the fundamentals, as we've already know. We can keep replying about fundamentals. It's not about that. It's about Elon and Elon doing Elon stuff, right? Christian, what's your response to that?
I agree. I mean, I don't know what the number is going to be, but on the low end, say it's 415. On the high end, it's 430. I don't know. That's great. We did 340 in Q3, right? So quarter over quarter, that's a great number. And that's going to be a great earnings, right? And look at the valuation. The valuation is going to come down more because the earnings is going to go up. Like it's been going up.
Again, why are we talking earnings and valuation when it's
no,
already been...
I'm saying the fundamentals are there, so it's not that. So let me go back to that last bit. He's the CEO and not the shareholder. I mean, he's the CEO and not a politician. So I would say if he's running for office, then Elon's great. I would vote for him. But he's not. He's the public CEO. So he cannot. I'm only talking fundamentals in the sense of that it's not the fundamentals, Herbert. So that's what I meant. Like it's not fundamentals driven. This is a waterfall based on Elon and what he's doing with Twitter. It's based on his actions in response to shareholder concerns, a total deafness, the board missing in action. I agree with that. And all these things are coming together, and you're seeing a waterfall. Hello, Alexander, joining us. So we just been chatting. So I'll just go there again. This is a crisis that needs to be attended to now, not a month from now, because a month from now, we're going to be at $80. Elon needs to step back and realize what's going on. And for Alexandra, I was just saying, Elon now with Twitter, and I love your comments, he is now the referee. He's done a great thing for freedom of speech. Now let Alexandra, Jeff, Herbert, me talk politics without worried about being taken off. And Elon stays out of it now as a public CEO of Tesla. He has a responsibility there. He does not have a responsibility to join spaces with any political affiliation, trying to do all these things anymore. It's too much, and it's too much for the stock to handle, in my humble opinion.
Okay, Alexandra, you just
but let me add to that. Oh, thank you. Yeah, it was something. I mean, Gordon Johnson.
Yeah, take a look at this Steve Rosen comment. There is no crisis. Christian is dead wrong, and Herbert's dead wrong. Is panicking for no reason. We're not panicking.
Fair enough. I'm not panicking.
Should the board, is the Tesla board, should they not treat this as a crisis when the stock has fallen this much, or no, just ignore it? And I was going to ask you.
I actually think that the problem is small, but it's difficult to solve. The problem is that Elon doesn't see the problem. Because the problem itself is not that complicated to solve, but he doesn't admit it in all his responses, the ones to Ross. He is, I mean, I don't want to say he's insulting him, but obviously he is not going on that level because he doesn't want to see, or he probably doesn't think it exists, the current problem. So we cannot talk, we can wave, we can scream, we can stay calm, we can do whatever we want. If Elon doesn't recognize there is an issue, even though we feel it and we see it in the stock price, and we see it actually when we talk to other people who may not be as Elon fan people that we are, but he doesn't see it, right? So the question is, does he not see it because actually Tesla is outperforming everything we're waiting for? So in 2 to 6 weeks, we might have that confirmation, and then it was noise and let Elon be Elon. Or does he just not want to see it because he, like Christian said, he's so convinced that his current behavior on Twitter is so necessary that it's just more important than anything else. And I agree with Christian. What we really need is shield him from this hate. He's gone down into a gutter. When you're going down into a gutter in politics, you have half the word against you. That's just it. That's the definition of politics, right? That's why there are two camps. Maybe in Europe and Asia, it's a little bit more differentiated, but here in America, it is one side or the other. So by alienating half of your viewership, your potential clients, your potential Twitter clients, your potential Tesla clients, your potential whatever, your potential government employees that you need for permits, anything. So by alienating half of this world, you either are completely ignorant to how this works or you wanted to do it, right? So for a long time, my best case scenario was he wants to bring those 13 billion loans down so he gets them at the cheapest possible price, because may as well make the banks bleed for it. They ran into the problem with him, so may as well be them. Fair enough. But if it's that, give us a signal, give us some relief, because at the moment we just feel any negative news gets amplified. Anything, right? You just take it and it becomes the big negative thing, and anything positive just evaporates without any good effect, right? So the only person, like I said at the beginning, the only person at the center of this all, be it good or bad, is Elon. And as long as people feel he doesn't even understand or recognize the problem, it will continue in that way. It's just, that's it.
I agree.
You got this tweet that you did last night. It says, sorry, yes, I'm genuinely interested in the result, so please vote. Did Elon's behavior during the last 6 weeks at Twitter alter your opinion negatively on him and Tesla? What is the results that you found?
Okay, so it's not completely over yet, but it was, yes, it alters the opinion on him. Yes, it alters it on Tesla. Yes, it alters it on both, or not at all. So when I did that, I was expecting, especially in our Tesla Twitter community, that we would have 75 to 80% being in not at all, and then the other 20% sprinkled around the first three responses, and not at all. The current status, I didn't check between the spaces and now, but before the spaces was 54% were not at all. So only just about half, and there were 4,000 and something voters. And the others were sprinkled among these yes answers, with very few only having now a negative view on Tesla. So obviously the outrage is about Elon, but about half of those that are outraged on Elon and pose that over to their Tesla image. So fair enough. These may not be buyers. Fair enough. These may be more of the left wing that is really politically hurt, and that's just maybe exaggerating. Maybe this is currently the cool thing being against Elon, right? And this just evaporates. But what got me is that the not at all crowd was not the clear majority. I mean, it was just a little bit over half. And that got me concerned, because that was really a surprise.
And guys, look, I'm going to try to be as plain spoken as possible. And this is just my opinion. Imagine another company the size of Tesla in the S&P 500, like an Apple, a Google, an Nvidia, and every day they were on Twitter spouting their political beliefs. And every day on Twitter, they were giving their opinion about something, and something controversial. It's okay to have political beliefs. But again, as being a public CEO of a company, you need to temper that. That is business 101. And if we're going to sit here and have an honest conversation, I know we can't control them, but that's what the board's there for. The board of directors is to protect the shareholders. And guess what? I love Elon, but when you have a CEO that is doing something continually, and you can't prove it for sure, but it's having a drag on the stock price. And we're getting into territory where we're going to be down close to 70% year to date. That's a problem. And that would not stand at a company this big without some chirp from the board of directors, in my opinion. It just would not happen. Elon has complete control right now, but he really doesn't, because now I think he owns what, 13% of the companies, because he sold so much, and the board's with him. But if enough shareholders had enough of it and the board felt pressure, they would do something a little bit more by put something in writing. Elon, you cannot do this anymore. Okay, that's where it's getting. The longer we just excuse it and say, oh, this, that, no, it's not going to work. There is no way that this stock is going to get a bid from institutions if every day there's this uncertainty about what Elon's going to tweet. Does he need more money? Is he going to sell? What controversy is going to come up? What new Twitter files is he going to talk about? Who's he going to insult? That is not a winning formula for a sustained stock price if you want to get into the trillions of market cap. It's just not going to happen.
And let me add.
He's destroying the goodwill.
Yeah, I agree with you. And let me add, because it happened live on the Spaces, so I haven't digested it yet, but the fact that Elon schools Ross the way he does, always remember, Ross has been out there for 8 years, 10 years. Herbert, you've been around longer than all of us. So, I mean, Ross was the one standing up for Tesla when there was nearly nobody publicly on TV going, standing up for it. So that's Ross. Ross got invited into the first Twitter round and did it with his own money, with his company's money. So he is one of the potentials. Let's put a second tranche in. He was asked for that. I asked him in the Twitter Spaces, and he didn't do it. The fact that Elon schools him, the way he schools him, I mean, these are Trump-like tweets, right? These are slaps in the face when they come. Do your stock analysis 101 course. I mean, what is this? Just means this is my board of directors. You don't come close. You stay far enough. You have your purpose, but you're not coming close to my inner circle. And that is just not normal. I'm sorry. I really don't appreciate that. Again, I love Tesla. I love the cars. I love the fundamentals. I'm all in the stock. I didn't sell anything, and I don't consider selling anything. But I have to say there's a couple of things currently about the persona of Elon that he may be the genius he is. And I know all the Uber bulls are going to scream at me again and say, Alexandra, don't school him. He's not your son. He's not your boss. No, he's not. But he's managing my money, and he's out there representing what we have all invested in. And this is just not the way you treat somebody who has been standing next to you and serving the Tesla brand and serving your personal brand for 8-10 years. And now you just, because he dared say, look, I want to represent retail investors on the board. I don't know whether Ross is the right person. I don't know whether Gary is the right person. I don't know who is the right person. I don't even know whether we really need a retail investor. But one thing I do know is currently nobody's listening. That's the one thing I'm absolutely convinced about. And if you scream, and I'm sure it's going to happen to me today, if you scream, you get told to shut up. And that's just not normal.
Well, not me. I was going to say real fast. I tweeted that out, and I would say 90% came back and saying something needs to be done. He's too political, and he's to that
oh
extent.
Yes.
So
now among us I get support as well. I mean, like I said, except for the Uber bulls who think I'm just a stupid cow, but among us I think there is enough support. I'm talking about Tesla official. I mean, you all know the story. We did that petition to get the buyback when there was still time. We emailed it twice to Tesla IR and the board of directors. Nothing, no even acknowledgement. So I just, and I'm not bitter about that by itself, but I just feel there is nothing, a complete void. The complete void I could still live with, but now this rebuttal of Ross, and again, I'm not running for Ross. That's not what I'm doing. I just don't like the tone of how he makes sure that Ross now gets disgusted and doesn't want to go for it.
I was just going to say to take both. First off, I agree with what you said. Both of you said. When you approach Elon in a public figure like that, I think it's really important to just be fact-based and lay the facts out of like 1, 2, 3, like this is happening, we're seeing this, and this is what we recommend. I think there's some emotion that was packaged on top of that coming from Ross and some others. And I think, in his position, if he's punched, he's probably going to punch back. He's going to defend his board, and those kind of things are going to happen. So I would just keep that in mind. I think the right way to approach it is to do the things like you were just describing. I did a petition. This is fact based. We went to all these investors, and here's the response. And just we have to be. I think you have to be continuous and relentless and very consistent in like what we would like to see as shareholders, and just know that they have a lot more information than we have. What we see and what they see right now is the scoreboard, which is the stock price right now. And that's kind of the current like weighing machine, like you think, the term of where the stock is. But I just want to put, I think we're all frustrated. And and the other thing between bulls, I think we just have to be like respectful of the bears too. Like when there's bears that join these debates, and you did a great job bringing Gordon up, and we just have to be respectful to each other. And they may not be respectful all the time, and on the margin sometimes we may, but in general, like those should be the general rules. And I think in this case of like bringing these points up to Elon, it's kind of be like bullet, like here's 1 through 5 of like what we'd like to see as shareholders, and see where it goes. He tends to listen and pivot to reason, but I think if he gets attacked and then you kind of provide bullet points, I think there could be a little bit of a problem wrapped in that.
I agree, Jeff. And what I'm saying is, I'm not even doing a bear bull debate. Maybe the fundamentals are deteriorating. I'm not saying they are. I'm saying maybe they are, and maybe the stock should go down. Maybe something's happening that we don't know. But I'm saying I don't even care about that. What I see from them as a public company is what I'm saying. It seems like it's tough to like. There's no reaction to some of the investor base that has supported Elon in the past. And I'm not saying they have to cater to investors. What I'm saying is he's running a public company at the time, the 5th biggest company in the world, worth $1 trillion. And we're getting communications and we're getting behavior that, to me, at some point, it's not sustainable. It's just
Correct.
not.
I agree with that.
Yeah. I don't know how you can continue to run the company like this, with Elon daily tweeting. Whether you agree with it or not, it's immaterial. It's that some will and some won't. It's like Alexandra was saying, politics is a losing game unless you're a politician. Elon Musk is not a politician. He is the CEO or the techno king of Tesla and SpaceX. And he is jeopardizing SpaceX missions. He is jeopardizing the Tesla mission. He is jeopardizing these things. He needs public support. And if he's going to alienate 40% or 35% or 30% of the people from these missions, that's not good for him in the long run. Again, my opinion.
Okay. Can I ask a question? Okay. So let's unpack this a little bit, right? So I'm going to ask a few things and see what you guys think of each one of these. Okay. So number one is Elon loves Tesla. He wants Tesla to succeed. I think we probably all will say, yes, that's correct. That's true. That has not changed, right? Number two, there's some people who think that Elon sold and is doing this on purpose. 7D chess, lower the price down for his purposes of stock option calculations and benefit, right? I don't believe that, but some people do. They're talking about that. 3, Elon is now saying that the majority of the stock fall is because of the macro, the interest rates. He kind of like he schooled Ross and explained it why. And then he's also saying that, it's the Fed is causing a recession. This is what's causing the stock to fall. But he's also said a few times that, Tesla will succeed and will do very well. Shareholders will succeed in the future. What is he doing? I mean, he clearly knows that the stock is falling this much. He must care that the stock price, because his own value is at that point. He can't do things when a stock is falling. What's you guys thinking? I mean, what just unpack it a bit and figure out what is he thinking? Where is he at? It's coming back to your original question there, Alexandra.
Yeah. I don't agree with you that he's really interested in the current stock price. It is obviously for him a measure to calculate how much he needs to liquidate when he needs funds, right? The good thing, I mean, do I like that he sold so much Tesla stock? Of course not. We've discussed this before. This is really something that's painful to everybody just because there's so much more float around. But we all know why he did it. In December last year, he did it for Texas. This year, he did it for Twitter. And the only last two questions was, what were the last two tranches? We're obviously done now because we're in the blackout period until 2 days after earnings. So we have a couple of weeks that no stock sales will happen. It is, for me, I don't think Elon looks, I mean, he may look daily at the stock price, but I don't think he has an emotion related to it making like, I want it lower or I want it higher. I don't think that's how he operates. He wants Tesla to succeed. He's seeing SpaceX succeeding, and he is very passionate about both getting Twitter to survive, which he seems still to doubt. I doubt it less than him, but he still is very vocal about it. And he wants this free speech theory or cleaning up or house cleaning, or I don't know how you want to call it, done with. But I mean, he's doing everything to drag it out, right? We could have had this in one weekend and then we were over with it. Instead of it, where everybody's getting tired of it. Nobody wants another chapter of it. Now, when is the Fauci chapter? And so you just feel it's the never-ending story. So we have a couple of conflicting messages. I do believe when Elon is talking about, I'm now your free speech hero, and I want to make sure I'm reinstalling free speech because the Western civilization cannot survive, that those were his words, if we don't restore free speech. So I think that has become so important to him that looking at the stock price probably is so minor compared to it. It's not for us. So he hears us complaining, screaming, crying, whatever you want. But I just don't think it is something he wants to focus on or he wants to clear out. So I could live quite a while for that. Where I got a little bit upset today is the tone to Ross. That was really a thing that bothered me. I want to just get back to that. And that puts a little bit my whole theory that I just built up with, okay, fair enough. He's going for a bigger goal and we just have to backhold. If we get to the point that Elon now becomes snappy with his biggest supporters because they dare say something that they feel, it may not be in his engineering mind important, but there is some substance to it. Let's get back to it. What is Ross asking for? And I agree with you, Jeff. He didn't package it the right way. He attacked him first before he brought the points forward. But the 3 points is Tesla needs media and communication. Oh yes. Tesla needs a succession plan. Well, oh yes. And Tesla needs to communicate about standstill moments for the stock sales. Well, it would be nice to have. I asked Gary about it. He said that's not going to be relevant. But I mean, the first 2 points clearly have some value to it and could be addressed rather than, becoming tough about it. So getting back to your question, Herbert, does he care about the stock price? I don't think so. But then if you don't care about the stock price, don't get snappy to people that are worried about the stock price and want to help to make it better.
Yeah, and I'll just say real again, and again, I think this is important. That's why I want to say it again. I don't know how you get up every day, and I would love to hear what Jeff has to say about it, Herbert, Alexandra. I don't know how you get up every day and Elon's going to tweet something political. I actually agree with a lot of the stuff that he is, but it doesn't mean I want my CEO talking about it nonstop every day. Okay, we know where he stands. We know kind of what went down, but to continually come up with the new thing and the new theory and the new devastation that's going on, let it play out. But he doesn't have to be a part of it. At some point, you have to let it go, and you have to let the Twitter people take care of it. Let his people that he said, here's the information, do with it as you wish. At some point, you will get brand deterioration. I don't care how great the product is. You will eventually get brand deterioration if you continually alienate for right or for wrong. It doesn't matter. It's just truth. Truth. It's not right, wrong, good, or bad. The truth is some people have a political bias. You're never going to convince them otherwise. It doesn't matter if you show it right to them or don't. Some you will convince, but most you will not. It's just the way it is. It's humanity. So this is job one. I don't know how you do it, and I think it's a big problem. So is it fixable? Yeah, but it's a lot on Elon. And I don't know, Jeff, what do you think about when you get up every day and as a shareholder, your CEO is going off the cuff on the next controversial political topic? Does it concern you, or is it, well, the fundamentals will eventually just work itself out?
No, it's concerning because what happens is at some point, and I think it's happening now, is that noise actually undercuts and starts carving out of what the fundamental value, both current and future value of the company should be. And I liked your thought earlier, Christian, about does put this in any other Fortune mega cap CEO company. You put yourself in that position. If that CEO did that, what would happen, to the value of that company, and how long could that go for? And I think Elon is not like any of those CEOs. He's unbelievable in terms of his intellect and what he's grown from basically zero to where these companies are today. There aren't many founder-led CEO companies today, maybe Facebook and a few others, that are up at mega cap levels. But yeah, no, it can't happen. It can't continue. There has to be some sort of finality to it, or there has to be some numbing of the markets of look, he's got a position. By the way, this guy's voted for the Democratic presidents the last three times in a row. So he's certainly balanced on many of the issues. You may not agree with everything and every issue he tweets with, and it's going to set off some part of the base. The question is does the markets get numb to that at some point, or does the frequency go down? Because those are the two things that probably have to happen. And then if you go back to, I think it does come back to the fundamentals at some point. But over the next couple of months, I think we will have a good read back on what's going on with the brand and what's going on with orders. If Tesla could comment in some capacity, if there was some new information, maybe the IRA. My gut is the IRA is money. It's dollars. It's right now in Illinois, if you want to go buy a Tesla in January, you will get a $7,500 credit if that car qualifies and you qualify. And if those same qualification, you can get a $4,000 credit from the state. So you can get a Tesla for, I think money will talk more in those situations, maybe than politics. And I think if Tesla can get the economics right, get the fundamentals right, one thing I do know is Elon wants to ship the most number of EVs he can possibly ship as a human being. And that to me is his center and his core. And whatever has to happen behind the scenes to enable the most amount of EV, I'm sure he's gone through the calculations of all available capacity in 2022. It's this. And these are the cars, these are the models, this is when they need to ship. I'm sure that work is happening, but this noise that kind of wraps the interior, this noise that kind of wraps around it is what's concerning. When that noise actually starts getting into the core of shipping the number of cars, I think he will pivot pretty quickly. He's got access to this data real time.
And I'll just say real quick on the politics again, and someone fact checked me. I can't see anything on mine. I think he responded to a tweet, and it was something, and it had Obama in the tweet. And he was friendly with Obama. They were walking back in the day, and it was not a negative thing toward Obama, but it had Obama, and he said something. Someone checked the tweet. So again, it's just going back to that political. He's just getting. It's one thing to have a little back and forth with Biden, but now he's going after someone that he had respect for. And we heard Obama's speech was trying to bring everyone together. So it seems like he's on this kick of, I'm on this side and you're on that side. And again, it's just not going to work when you're running a public company. So, but go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, it feels mission driven. And what hurts us is we want him mission driven on Tesla and not mission driven on something else. And why is he so successful as an entrepreneur? And we had that early in the spaces. He wasn't always successful, but whenever he was, because he was really convinced about the mission. And so he managed to make rockets land. Nobody in the world has even attempted that. He's obviously building the best EVs. Now, let's not forget the EVs he sells are currently in the higher price bracket. One of the suggestion in the spaces today was that they accelerate the $30,000 or $35,000 car, because first of all, obviously with all these subsidies, it becomes even less expensive. But also it is the way of actually using the production, because what seems to be the case now, Jeff, you tweeted about that, I think last night or this morning, is this is a luxury problem we have. Yes, we have a problem, but it's a luxury problem. They have so well optimized Shanghai production that they are now producing so much more than they can easily allocate, right? And obviously Shanghai is at the other end of the world. The time those ships get to Europe or somewhere else, it just takes time. And that's why we're stuck with so much inventory to make it simple. Well, couldn't that be the moment to actually accelerate the $30,000 car? I mean, I know you don't snap a production line like that, but if you don't start early, you don't get there early. So there could be some strategic thinking. And of course, it's dumb or stupid to ask now Tesla to communicate, but give us some hints, right? Give us a bone on which we can chew to have something new and exciting to look after. Change the story. Lots of times it's just the perception of the story that's wrong. But if the company itself or Elon or the board or whoever communicates doesn't give the listeners a new bone to chew on, they will chew on the old bone. And the old bone, I can tell you, it's not a nice bone. It's an old bone. It's empty now, and we really don't want to hear about it anymore.
To add to what Alexandra's point is, I've said this a couple of times, but like this happens usually in the last 2 to 4 weeks of a quarter. If an email got out that says, we have the biggest final 2-week push in the history of the company, and somewhere in that email it says, and it doesn't stop into the following year, the order book is super strong. Like, we need everybody focused through the holidays. If something went out like that, an email got leaked, I think that would be very helpful to change.
He used to do that all the time, Jeff. I remember that, like in 1920. I remember, like, it was like clockwork, like something that, like, we're not seeing any of that. And I'll just say real quick, I think a lot of this is optics driven. Like, I want to stay focused on this. I think a lot of, you don't go down 8% like a waterfall when the market's flat. And after you went down 6% the day before and 5% the day before, like, there's something else happening than, oh, we're going to miss deliveries by 5,000. Okay. There is something else at play. Okay. And the only thing I can see is he is going crazy on Twitter. Call me crazy.
Well, Christian, let me ask you a question. When all this mess is happening, why in the world do you go to the World Cup and are taken on photograph with all these emirs and whatever, and Jared Kushner, right? And then you just think this is normal. Why do you provoke this type of optics? Because I mean, he knows he's photographed, he knows he's getting all that, and then that's the next day story, right? Yeah. People don't even think, they just see the picture and go, oh, so now he's with Kushner and now he's with the Qatari again. And so they're putting more money in there. And then we have Saudis impacting. I mean, people don't even understand that the Qatar is something else than Saudi Arabia, right? Yeah. But it just overflow for nothing.
I mean, I'm okay with him going to the World Cup. That's fine. Yeah. But you're right. Like, I think he took a picture with Putin's, somebody's girlfriend got in there and he's taking selfies. But that's okay to get away. Like, I want him to get away and relax. Like, but Herbert, I know you're going to go, but I don't know. I don't know how you fix this, but I think that I don't think we're being outrageous, to be honest. Okay. I have much respect for Elon. I think he's the greatest generational innovator, entrepreneur, smartest guy in the world. Okay. But that doesn't mean he doesn't have faults. And he's had faults in the past, but he's been able to pivot and focus on the business and still Tesla. We haven't had a Tesla tweet, and I don't know, for whatever. He doesn't ever tweet about Tesla, barely ever anymore. He doesn't even talk about it. So I don't know what to think about that. Like, if there is something like a lot of stock price and valuation going forward is about confidence and goodwill. So you think you're going to get these institutions after they sell your stock down, just like back like that because you get a good number? You're destroying confidence, and maybe they come back, but maybe it takes them a longer time to say, well, this is all going to have to play out. And in the meantime, you're going to get crushed more. Like, and to the Uber Bowl comment, look, I respect everyone and everyone can have an opinion, but I don't know why any long-term investor who is done even very well in the stock will want the stock down 65, 70, 75, 80%. I don't know how that helps a long-term investor in any way. So someone explain to me why the Uber Bulls love when it goes down. Because if most of their money's already in Tesla stock, their worth is draining, and the money that they could put in relative to what's already in is like a peanut. So somebody explain that to me.
I can't explain that to you. I hear that comment. I hear the comment that Tesla's on sale. Go in and soak it up. And I even over the last year, first when there was some selling last year in Q4, Elon was selling. They're like, don't worry about it. It's going to go back up. Everybody kind of thinks like the bull market is here to stay, and obviously it's gone. Everybody thinks there's no recession on the horizon, and now there is a recession on the horizon. So there are a lot of reasons that thinking is flawed. This is not a sale unless you're a trader of the stock, and if you're a trader, you're an option trader, then you're probably using those terms. But you're not the Tesla Uber bull that's in it from the YOLO from day one. I'm not saying, I've been in it since 2012. I think a lot of us have been in it for a number of years. And yes, you can trade your position. Yeah, of course, you should be trading and tiding your account. You should do whatever you need to do to make sure your finances are good and you're in a good place. And I think we should just touch on it really quick. There are people out there hurting. We should look at, if you look at the unit volume that's happening, we should probably touch on this for a little bit. The unit volume over the last week and a half, even after Elon stopped selling, has maintained well over 100 million shares per day. And so I talked about this in a smaller chat, but we could be getting in this a little bit in this spiral of people being called out of their stock, and that could every day the stock closes at a lower value than the day before, that could be happening. And there's this thing with institutions called window dressing, where they like to actually take positions in stock that are recently and performing well over the past quarter. Over the last 90 days, Tesla has to be one of the worst stocks to hold if you're an institution. So they would probably be actually or doing the opposite of window dressing and maybe reducing shares. So there's a number of things that could be driving both institutionally. I just gave a retail example and an institutional example that could be our average volume is 82 million shares a day, and we've been well over 120 million, even on days that Elon isn't selling. So there's not one singular thing going on there.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to get back to what can Tesla or Elon do to stop the crash and to rebuild. I'm going to push back a little bit of what you said, Jeff, earlier, which is, if they have a leak of some good news, the reason I'm going to push back a little bit, of course, that's going to help. I'm not saying it won't. Fundamentals are important. But look at Q3. He comes out and he says everything we ever wanted to say about how incredible the company's doing and what they're expecting to happen in Q4. Oh, he did that, but of course, a week later, Alexander and I, she's pretty upset about that, but he sold at that week, which he needed to, and that just kind of eliminated everything. But as we've been watching the last quarter, any good news that Tesla announces or good information does not make the stock budge at all, because it's in a deflationary macro, or not deflationary, but recessionary macro environment that we're in. So let's say that in the next week we do hear that there is no China demand issue. Things are heading in the right direction. Is that going to stop the stock falling?
No,
I'm not sure.
Go back to my tweet, Herbert.
I don't think so.
Exactly. I'm going to go exactly.
Why would you buy? My original tweet.
Exactly.
Why would you buy the stock on good news when Elon's going to come down and sell 20 billion on your head? It
Well,
doesn't work.
not just that he's going to sell anymore, but the fact that there's something else
Right.
that has taken over, that this is decoupled from fundamentals. And so that's what I keep saying, that yes, the fundamentals are important.
Yeah.
Yes, it's coming. It's impacting
agree
the
with you.
stock, but
We
it's
have a
not
PR
really the big
problem.
thing. There's something
Just in
bigger.
general. Public
And so my
relations
question to you
problem.
guys is that did something change in the last 2 weeks? Okay, the stock started to fall dramatically,
Twitter.
right, until Twitter 2 months ago. But in the last 2 weeks, something has changed, has it not? Or do you guys think it's the same
Yes.
thing, that it still is a Twitter issue?
No, something has changed. I said that Elon, again, I'm not trying to pick on Elon, but Elon over the last few days to a week, has to me become, I've watched this man. I've watched every interview that he's ever done. He's been calm as a cucumber. He's the most intelligent man I've ever seen in my life. It started with the family, and I get it. But lately, he's become a little bit discombobulated. This is my opinion. I can tell just a sense of a little bit. He usually never gets completely out of control. Alexandra pointed out with Ross, he's getting a little testy there. He's getting a little testy with some, like, there's something a little edgy. I can't put my hands, but it seems like Elon is just in a little bit of a place that he's never been before. I spoke about this before, about when he spoke about going to the comedian show, and he said it was the first time I got booed ever, and that took me aback. I never got booed in a public setting. That could be unsettling for someone. He's getting a lot of pushback from his retail base. That really never happened ever. So there are things that are now going against Elon. And what I think is happening, again, just my opinion, Elon is digging in his trench saying, okay, I'm being attacked. Even if it's a friendly fire, I'm going to put my helmet on, and I'm going to, rather than acquiesce it and smooth it out, I'm going to battle. And I know it's a stock and finance, but perception and sentiment is just important in the short and medium term to a stock price as fundamentals or more. So this is important to understand.
No, I give you.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Now I give you the good side of it. He did announce he's going to do with Lex Friedman a Spices or a YouTube. I don't know how they're exactly going to organize it. I do believe he deserves to be heard now. I mean, we hear him by tweet, but hearing by tweet, I mean, we all know it. You can be misunderstood. You can come off rougher than you usually are and whatever. And I think if there is one person that can make him speak his thoughts. I mean, what I love about Lex, he lets him think. You know, you have these huge blanks where you know that Elon is trying to assemble the best way of expressing where he is. And he just thinks in so many more dimensions than we all do, right? I mean, I think I talk. Sometimes I even talk without thinking. But he would never do that. He will really assemble what he tries to get over, and Lex gives him the time to do that. So I think the one hope I have is if in the next couple of days that comes, and the second hope I have is that these Twitter files just come to an end. I mean, I can tell you, I don't care anymore. I know this is horrid. I don't like what the FBI did. I didn't like what the DNC did. But I want this over with. I don't want to live in the past. I want this to improve. There are people who should improve this. This is why we have a justice system and a Congress. So I hope they look into it. If they don't, well, was it worth it? If they don't, was it worth it if they do? I mean, I don't know, but just let's get over with it. Yeah. And so between those two, I do have a hope that this very emotional period gets over and Elon gets the chance to explain why he wanted to bring us here and why it was uncomfortable. But now we're done. That's my big hope. But if that doesn't come, I don't know where the stock will be, because I honestly don't think we're at the point where being at 422 or 432 of deliveries is really having an impact today. I just don't think so.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I love the Lex thing. Herbert, I can't see the chat. What's the sentiment? What are people saying down there? I have no idea. I would love to get the feel of what investors
people like what you're saying. People like what Alexandra's saying. They're liking what
but in general, what is their theme? Is there anything of noteworthy that we could address? I would love to see some comments or chat about them if you see anything notable. Anybody?
I'll take a look. Yeah.
Yeah, just to say your question, Herbert, is there something else going on? I think if you were to just mute the Twitter noise for a second and just take Tesla and then take macro together and say what would happen, like we have production and delivery coming probably in 12 days or so, and then you've got earnings another 3 weeks after that. Like what could happen if you just had those two variables? I mean, I think if Tesla misses the consensus number, even by a few thousand, it's going to get amplified even more than normal. I mean, I honestly think that that's going to happen just because really every media outlet is looking. They're looking at everything right now. They're looking at things we can't even dream of that they're actually looking at right now. So I think Tesla has to be on their game. I actually conversely like the confidence that Elon has shown in the Tesla team. And the comments have been like, the team is executing, the team is doing a good job. Like, those are very near-term comments to me. Those are very tactical near-term comments. I like the Gary comment around the material non-public information, but we don't know. A lot of things, they're going to probably ship a couple 100,000 units in the month of December alone, number of cars, if you just think about how back-end loaded their quarters are. So a lot of things could happen in any one of these weeks that shift the quarter one direction or another. But to answer your question, if you look at a company like NVIDIA went from one in this horrible macro, and it's a growth company, it's got a higher PE than Tesla. It went from 120 to 180 in like a couple of weeks. It went up 30% of its value.
Exactly.
So that's why I'm saying and there wasn't a great announcement from NVIDIA of like, we've inventories figured out, everything in the future. It wasn't like the greatest guidance in the world, but it went up. So the question is if it's just Tesla and it's macro, I think Tesla can figure it out as long as there's an answer for upcoming recession, but we have this IRA, we think demand looks good.
Yeah,
I think it could work out. But if it's Tesla, macro, and then this political and then the Twitter noise, that variable is really hard for any investor to predict.
yeah.
Amazon's business has been deteriorating. It's still holding, I think, a trailing of 80 PE. We're about to, after the Q4 hits, we're going to have a PE, half of that. No, not even. It's going to be like 30. It's going to be 30 on a trailing basis where Amazon's 80 something. Go ahead, Herbert.
Yeah, Gary Black said something earlier today too that I think he said, which is institutional investors are pulling off of Tesla because they don't want to have to be associated with a crazy political scenario that's happening right now.
That's what's happening.
So yes, Jeff, I mean, obviously I'm just getting, PTSD from Q3. Just wait till Q3 numbers come out, and it's going to be record revenue, record sales, record earnings, numbers are through the roof. Nothing happened to the stock. Nothing will happen again in Q4. I think it's going to take until Q1. People are still concerned about what's going to happen to macro, but right now what's driving the stock down, it's not because of potential concern for China. Some people tell me that it's because of the China demand is scaring people. But you tell me right now, is it the China demand that is scaring a lot? Is that the real reason why the stock has fallen all the way from today in the last few days, or is it?
We have the
Twitter?
China numbers. We have the weeklies. We have the 100,000 in November. It's going to be a fine quarter. There might be a little bit of weakness, but it doesn't warrant this type of the waterfall decline in the last 3 days. The China numbers have been fine.
It doesn't warrant the stock cutting in half since September. It does not warrant more than half.
So what I think needs to happen is Elon needs to announce confirm once and for all, I'm going to be hiring a CEO for Twitter. That's going to help. Because right now, people are still kind of like, oh, he did the poll. Yes. And then all of a sudden it was like, maybe I might redo the poll or something.
Bots. And didn't we clean the bots? Wasn't there now 6 weeks of bot cleaning?
But I think he's going to do it, and just confirm that he's going to do that. And two, it's basically I'm going to go down Christian's list. It's pretty simple. But if he doesn't do that, okay, Q4 numbers come out and it's great. Is that going to? It might stop the bleeding, but is that going to make it start rising?
Maybe stop the hemorrhaging because our valuation is come in so much. It could stop it. I think it can, but I could be wrong. I mean, at some point, if Elon stops the tweeting and the Q4 is nice and the earnings is nice and people look up and say, okay, Tesla's trading at 25 times and they just said on the conference call they're going to grow units 40 to 50% next year, so they're going to earn 6 to 7, and if I just put a 30 on that's a $200 stock. I mean, you might get some buyers as long as Elon's behaving.
It'll shift the guidance. And if what's going on with rates and how Elon responds to rates publicly in the marketplace, I mean, there should be some concern there that there's signaling going on regarding rates and recession. And so the question is what do they guide? And by the time that they guide, it'll be the third week in January, which they should have had probably 4 to 6 weeks of orders of people ordering vehicles that they intend to take delivery for in 2023. So they could start seeing some of the ramp of the IRA in North America and to understand that when they guide.
Yeah, good point.
I don't know about this audience.
I want to address a couple of problems. They seem to have an issue with my volume. Is my volume higher than all of yours?
I tried to
It was
lower
a little
it, and I think I lowered it on you. The audience is not, I don't know, man. This person says, I just said Christian is handsome. I don't know.
Okay. Well, there's definitely something wrong with the
What
audience.
is that? Oh my God. I have some glasses to sell.
They say I'm handsome, I didn't know that.
Look at this.
What needs to happen, guys? Okay, so Christian has his thing. I want to hear from you, Jeff and Alexander. What needs to happen in what order for this bleeding to stop and for it actually reverse and start rebounding?
Yeah, I said it. There's three things. There's Tesla, there's macro, and then there's the Twitter noise. He's got to confirm that, like you said, like what he's doing with the CEO position. It's going to be hard to tell, like, this is how you should tweet on a daily basis, but I think he understands, like, if his tweeting is impacting order volumes on Tesla, I think Elon, to some extent, would pivot or adjust in some level. Two, he's got to show that there's been no significant change in demand. And I think, or the company has to show that they've got a firm demand, and they've got to show that they've got a plan for the IRA in the next year. And if there's any guidance that they could give on their compliance to the IRA, any rollout they can do with the government with the IRA, something that they can show that Tesla is working with the US government. Because right now on Twitter, it doesn't look like Tesla's working. It doesn't look like, at least the head of Tesla, it could be, singing in harmony with the US government. So if they could show, which I believe is actually happening at Tesla, I do believe that they're working with them to figure out how to maximize this. And then finally, they've got to execute and close Q4 strong. I think consensus has to come down. There's public information out there about what's going on with China data. So I hope the analysts bring their consensus number in a little. I think that would be a good thing. And then it's really going to be about the guidance, I think, for 2023. And I think that's really going to shape the stock to start the year. But if you're asking me tonight and tomorrow, well, it has to do with what's going on right now near term with Twitter and people's concern that there's impact right now, potentially with the brand, or there's some demand softening occurring, because all people can do is read tweets and see what's online. They can't quantify that in their brain. In my head, I think the IRA would dwarf any of these concerns, to be honest with you, and then all the incentives in Europe, and then any new incentives in Asia or China, and then of course the incentives here at the state level would dwarf that. But we won't know that. We don't know the order book. None of us on the outside know the order book. So I think those are the things that have to happen. It's Twitter, it's Tesla results confirmation. And then from a macro perspective, we're not going to hear a whole lot between now and, I don't know the FOMC calendar, but I thought the next meeting wasn't until February.
Yes.
So we'll get some more macroeconomic data, but I don't think it's going to move it dramatically one way or another. And then maybe, do we have a Santa Claus rally or not to close the year? That would be helpful. If the S&P can go up 10%, that could maybe help stem some of the bleeding. Who knows? So that's what
I have a different opinion on this. I think the only thing that can really help it is if Elon publicly pivots. And I think this pivot can only happen in that talk with Lex Fridman. So he is not going to say now that he's stopping selling the stock, because he can't anyway until 2 days after the earnings call, which is end of February. Will he stop tweeting politics? Of course he will not. Will he nominate a CEO. Well, that doesn't only depend on him. That depends who takes the job, right? The Ross had some good inside information. Some of it was straight away rebunked, but that doesn't seem, people, when he was at the World Cup and tweeting out that poll, people were like, oh, he's playing 4D chess. He already has somebody and this is all the setup and whatever. That doesn't look like it at all. I think he's interviewing. It doesn't seem an easy game at all, but he can completely shift sentiment by reassuring his Tesla investors and his Twitter clients and base. If in that interview he can clearly express what he's after, why this is currently such a mess, that sometimes you need a mess to get out better, clearer on the other side, that his objective in the next 3 days, 3 weeks, 3 months are this and this and this and that he will give up his CEO position as soon as the right person is found, that he reassures us on these things. So this is one call, right? Could go an hour, could go 3 hours. I don't know how they're going to structure it. But I do believe that is going to be the key moment of the next couple of days. It can't come soon enough. The sooner we have this, the calmer we have this, the better we have him focused on it, the more reassured people will be, because at the moment they just feel it's going all over the place and nobody grabs what's happening now.
Okay. I've got another question for everybody here. Are you buying Tesla right now? And if you had money, would you buy right now?
Yeah. Well, I continue buying. I have... Good. Okay, I continue buying because I have been buying every month since March 2020. My strategy is not at all. I mean, I bought at the all-time high, so I'm certainly not gonna not buy at the current low, right? So I continue that strategy. Now, like I shared yesterday, our youngest son got into NYU. That's going to reduce my monthly availabilities for a bit. So I'm a bit crying because I wish I could buy more at these levels. But yes, I continue because it's my strategy. My strategy is to buy every month, right? It's not because I feel today's more emotional about the price. If I was convinced to purchase this at the equivalent of now 400 or 420 or what it was, the all-time high, of course, I'm still convinced at 140, which, by the way, times 3 makes 420. Aren't we all in simulation again? It's just crazy, right? We always come to the same numbers.
Yeah, so I have my position. I've been dollar cost averaging in the past. But to be honest, I haven't bought the last few days. And the reason I haven't bought, and I might buy tomorrow, possibly, even if it's up, I need something to change. I'm not just a blind investor. Like, I'm not an all-in Tesla investor, so that's not my strategy. But these levels are getting very attractive. But I need something to change. I'll be honest. I need either Elon to stop. I need the board to do something. I need an announcement of a buyback. I need a talk with Lex Friedman. I need something, because if every day we go down 5 and 6%, why would I buy now when I can get the stock 15% cheaper in 3 days? So if I would have bought 3 days ago, I'm down 15% on what, I know that's short-term thing, but I'm just saying, like, there's no rot. Like if this is going to be a free fall and I have my position and I'm dollar cost averaging and if it goes up a little bit, I'll buy it. It doesn't matter. Like, it's in free fall mode. There's no rush to do anything. And I think Ross said kind of something similar. Like, who's in a rush to buy Tesla stock other than some people that maybe don't have a position, or I don't know, or was an all-in Tesla investor and they get cash and they just throw it in. That's something. I mean, that's not really what I'm doing, even though it's a good sized position. It's not my only position. So I'll just say that. So I'm looking for somewhat. Essentially, what I'm trying to say is, I'm looking for some sort of stabilization, whether that's Elon just on chill mode, whether that's a talk with Lex Friedman. But Jeff?
Say the good news is the stock could run 10% in a day and it'll be back to where it was Monday, in the 150. Just to keep that in perspective, I have stock, at this level. I have it much lower. I have it much higher. I have it all over the place. I'm with Christian that I need to see a change. I need to see some sort of fundamental change. And then I'm thinking of like what's going on in the last couple of weeks of the year. Good side, there could be a rally in a broader market index. Who knows? It usually does, seasonality. The bad side is tax loss selling. Tesla's not normally a loser stock throughout the year. And now this year, it's been a loser stock for people. So people are going to harvest from it. to go against any of the winners that they may have. And then the final thing is this margin call spiral that may continue. It closed at a lower low today than the prior day. So you have to keep some of these things in mind, and just, have your own plan. Even if I answered yes, all four of us answered yes, it's really about you, and you have to do your own research. It's got to fit you, your lifestyle, your plan, and where you see the company. We're just trying to maybe unlock what could be going on a little bit near term and maybe in the future, and focus on the fundamentals and maybe some of the noise around the stock, but you really have to have your own plan.
Okay.
Well,
for me, what's happened to me is I'm debt free. I was debt free, but then I went and released money. So I'm actually cash rich right now. And I'm desperately wanting to buy right now, but I'm not, because I'm looking forward to 2023 and making sure I have enough cash just in case, whatever might happen, right? Just prepare myself. I've learned my lesson from Christian, listening to him, teaching me to have good cash on hand for any scenario. And at the same time, the other reason why I haven't purchased is because I cannot just make a decision on my own anymore. My wife has basically said, look what happened to your stock in the last year. You now need to at least ask me before you make a call. And so I'm like, honey, the stock has fallen. This is the time to buy. You know that, right? Buy when everybody's fearful. And she gets it too. But now I can't just make my own call for now.
And how does she feel about the noise at the moment? That's because she's not as much on this whole Twitter world and all that. How does she react? Yeah,
I use her as my gauge because she is a regular public person, right? Just in the public. And she reads her Instagram, she reads her Flipboard and watches stuff, and she talks to friends, and she is saying things about what she thinks Elon is. And I'm defending Elon because I kind of know the full picture, but it's not pretty. It's not pretty out there what the regular person is hearing. So the mainstream media is doing a great job of turning people's, vision of what they think Elon is doing and who is he like and what is he up to. He's not helping himself, but it's hard for me to defend him all the time. There's some things that he's doing now that I really don't have a defense for anymore anyways. But at the end of the day, is it a stock worth buying or not, right? That's what I'm invested my life savings into here. And I still think it is. And I want to desperately buy. But I'm just kind of looking at the macro for next year. I want to have enough. So I've not yet bought. And if it keeps like a falling knife, right? You don't catch a falling knife. You wait until it kind of sets down and starts moving back up. And I'm waiting for something to stop. And it's not just fundamentals, Jeff. That's what I'm just saying. I hope you're right. Yeah. I really do. But I just don't. I'm not as confident that Q4 numbers come out and all of a sudden we're back up to 200 or 300, right? I just feel like something has to stop with Elon himself. He needs to step up and do something, say things, act differently. That's
Agreed.
And I'm deep in this.
No, thank you for being honest, Herbert, and sharing that. Yeah, that was nice. Go ahead, Alexander. Sorry.
Because it is a mess, but it is a mess. I mean, and again, I see a lot of the comments in the feed here. True, there is macro. There are lots of other stocks that are down as well. True, the China situation brings some salty taste to it. But the main thing that can turn is Elon explaining himself and refocusing. That can happen in a day if he's aware of it, if he wants to do it. Is a smart guy. He can pivot very quickly, and then you can invest, and your wife will be happy, Herbert.
Let's play a little quick game. So I love I can't see the comments, but let's take this macro. It's macro. It's macro. Elon says it's macro. Defenders, macro. Okay, say it's macro. So let's say, okay, where we think the stock price would be if Elon didn't sell any stock. Where do we think the stock price would be if Elon didn't tweet every day and Twitter file every day and jump on spaces with people that are very conservative? I am too, but where would the stock be? Do you think it would be at where is it now? 130?
Let me answer
think it would
that
be
first.
There? Yeah, go ahead.
I think it's going to be exactly what happened to Apple. It was tracking along with Apple from January to September. When he purchased Twitter, that's when it decoupled from Apple. Apple and Tesla were the only ones that are holding up strong. Macro devastated all the other FANG stocks. QQQ was hammered, but all of those have kind of semi-recovered. Apple kind of recovered. It fell this week, 10%. I saw that. But Tesla is nowhere near anymore. They've totally decoupled, and it's because of Twitter. And so if it was just macro, shouldn't it just track along with Apple? That's what I think.
Yeah, it
was
would
doing great.
be around
Yeah.
250.
Remember, earlier in the year, remember we were doing the stuff when we first got together, Herbert. It got the low of the 206. And remember I said the Q2 would get discounted. They would look forward to Q3. And the stock rebounded, right? Got all the way to 3-something. And why was that? Because the fundamentals were good. The analysts were way behind. They had to up their earnings for 22 and re-up their earnings for 23, even in a bad macro. That's why Tesla was doing really well and was holding up. You're right. It decoupled when that occurred.
Yeah, we were 320 in September, 310 to 320 in September, the third week of September. So, I mean, and then we were even before, just before earnings, I think in October, we were in the mid 200s. So, macro hasn't, the macro indices have
3 months ago,
anywhere near that.
Yeah. To show you the genius I am, not 3.5 months ago, I bought the 300 January call, 300, and I was in the money then. I was in the money, right? And that's worth zero. That's
I
it.
bought
Gone.
2
and I mean,
calls.
That's it. And I knew I was taking risk.
Yeah, I bought 2 calls that's be 300 by March and April. Yeah, I think I've lost those. What do you guys think? Do I still have a chance to win that?
Gone in the wind.
You have a
Gone
chance.
in the
Gone?
wind.
It's going.
What?
It's going.
All 3 of you? Gone?
Yeah.
What is it again?
Yeah.
300 by when?
March and April.
Anything's possible, but
Unlikely.
Yeah, unlikely. Anyway, guy, I really think
All right.
we were able. Yeah, I think it was a good discussion. We got some frustration out. Alexandra, I was listening to your spaces. When Gordon gets on, I can't really listen to it, even though we love bears. I've heard him enough, and he's a bit nauseating, so I have to jump off when he talks. But other than that, I love
Jeff does a good job. Jeff does
Jeff
an
did a
amazing
great
job.
job yesterday in a space. I was listening to Jeff, and he knows his stuff. Jeff's a great follow. If you want to know about the actual business and supply chain, Jeff is amazing. I'm more of a generalist. I'm more of a, like Herbert says, momentum investor / I like looking at Fed policy and things of that nature, and more of a macro guy and individual stocks.
And you did understand the public thinks you're eye candy.
Okay,
That was one person.
One person.
Let him believe it.
Let him
Herbert.
believe it. It's perception that matters.
So, but yeah, no. Look, these are tough times. Like, you can't just sugarcoat and talk about fundamentals. Like, when we see the stock like Tesla, I'm looking at it today, and it's probably not the healthiest thing to do. And I'm looking at it, I'm saying, okay, the market's doing great. Tesla's down 6%, and now it's down 8%. Like, why was that extra fall? I think it was in tandem with Elon responding to Ross, and then responding here, and then talking about this. Of course it is, because they're like, just unload more of it. We're already selling. We might as well sell more.
I mean, at some point here, again, that's why I keep bringing up the volume comment. 156 million shares today, I think 140 something the day before.
Crazy.
And at some point, we may be reaching some level of capitulation. That's something we can hope for.
We didn't have it already? This is not capitulation now?
No, you need a big washout. Right now, our washout is occurring over a month or two.
What?
But you kind of need a big washout for capitulation.
The washout has happened already. What? No?
Well, maybe it has. No one knows, but Jeff's thinking,
that's
the way it's going.
Yeah. My point is the volume's been so elevated since Elon's selling has commenced that this could be some sort of string of capitulation that's occurring. Okay. It's hard to say.
Thank you. It's been happening. Not that it's about to happen still. It could still happen, but it's been happening, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, but you see this kind of elevated volume over this period of time, and there's been nothing fundamentally released from the company. There's no earnings warning. There's nothing from the company, and it's just doing boom, 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 boom every day. Well, yeah, that's some form of capitulation, but it's hard to It's hard to say it's done on this date. Otherwise, everybody would be.
I agree. I'll just say this real quick. I know no one wants to hear it anymore because we said it a million times. And I don't care if it could happen or not. I'm just giving a hypothetical. What if Tesla came out tomorrow and said, we've instituted a buyback? Would that help?
Yes.
Of course it would. It could still be down, but we know that Tesla's in there buying with us. What kind of confidence would that show? It would show amazing confidence. So I understand macro. We're scared. We'll do all this stuff. We got 24 billion at the end of the quarter, probably in cash, but we can't implement, a $5 to $10 billion buyback just to help stem some of the bleeding a little bit, like not to rocket the stock, to take shares off the market that we believe are undervalued. So I just feel like I had to say it. We hadn't mentioned it during this chat. I think it would go a long way.
You know, it's
small
not
amount
possible.
of money would go a long way. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not possible now until 48 hours.
Yeah, it was a hypothetical.
I mean, they could announce that they put the program in place, but no single, and that would be stupid to do it now because then the market would run, right? You announce it the same day where you start purchasing, or at least you give that impression that you start purchasing so that the market doesn't run away with it. But I completely agree. I mean, it was what it was. They didn't take that up. We tried, and it would have been nice to have. Maybe they know something that they can get the shares much lower later, or they didn't want to take the risk, or they were busy with other things. It is what it is. I just think we should remain positive and give him that chance of that Lex Friedman call. Just keep it all your mind open for it. It may actually just work out, and this may be so temporary that in a couple of days, short weeks, we just leave this behind us.
Yeah, I'll sum it up for me. We're venting here a little, and we're just being real, but long term, I still think Tesla's a great company. It's the most innovative company. It's led by the greatest innovator of our lifetime. And it's important to remind ourselves of that. And I think things will work out, but have to be honest, this is a very, very, very tough period for every Tesla shareholder. And anyone that actually has a huge position in Tesla and says they're happy about the decline, okay, fine. I don't know what to say to that.
Okay. And I think for me, I'm actually very optimistic. I think this is what's going to happen. He's going to announce a Twitter CEO. It's going to happen in the next month or two. Then after that happens, the Q4 is going to look great. There's going to be great news. And even if macro stays flat, I still think that macro is going to start looking better. And then this is the bottom. We're at the bottom. It's going to go back up again. So I'm confident. I'm optimistic. I'm just trying to keep my
call, Herbert. Don't bottom call, please.
I never do. I've never made a call. You guys make the calls. I've never made a call. I'm not making a call.
I think we're at the bottom.
It's a generic statement that I think that things are going to improve because he's going to.
Don't jinx it, Herbert. Don't jinx it. Don't do it.
I don't believe in that stuff. I don't believe in Mac. I don't believe in the technicals. I just look at. I go. He's gonna get a Twitter CEO. That's the number one reason it's fallen. It's gonna get stabilized, and then that's when Jeff's good numbers are gonna come in Q4. I'm very positive in the macro. That's not voodoo. That is basically just financials, and I'm doing a straight line calculation of what's going to happen. So that's all. Okay. Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you very much. Sorry that we were late today.
Putting us together.
Okay. Bye-bye, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for waiting for me. Thank you.